So a little over 8 years ago, I was a sales rep working for a company selling call center software. Now, in all my years of being in sales, this company was the biggest shit show I had ever seen. They didn't give us any leads. They wouldn't let us put our own leads in the CRM. There was absolutely no training. It was awful. To just give you some context on just how crazy this situation was, one day we're all just working like we normally would do, and the entire finance team, in dramatic fashion, stood up from their desks and stormed out of the building like it was some kind of protest. It was hilarious. To make it even worse, none of the sales reps were closing anything, but I was able to recover a $60K deal that I thought was completely lost. Over the years, I've simplified this into a 4-step process, and in this video, I am going to walk you through how you can reactivate any deal, even if you feel like they'll never buy. So the first step is you need to make a list of deals that didn't close. So in this situation, I was under a lot of pressure to get a deal closed. And I was very nervous because sales reps weren't closing anything and they were starting to let people go. And I didn't want to be one of those people. So what did I do? I went through and created a list of all of the deals that I hadn't closed. I had done meetings with them and I wasn't able to close them. This gave me a list of people who at least had some awareness of what we did, and I could go back to them and see, is this a better time for us to be having this conversation? So here's how I recommend you going about getting this list together. So the first one is you can run a report in your CRM of all deals that are marked close lost, meaning you did not get a deal with them. So if you just go in your CRM and find that list of all of the deals that you didn't close over the past 6 months, 8 months, then you're gonna have a lot of leads you can reach out to who already have some awareness of your product or service. The second thing here is set a time frame for how far back you're willing to go and how recent you're willing to go. You don't wanna call somebody 2 weeks after they said no and didn't move forward, right? So generally what you want to do is set some kind of time frame. Maybe you're going to wait 60 days before calling somebody after they've said no to your product or service. And then how far back are you willing to go? Are you willing to go back all the way 3, 4, 5 years? Well, if your product or service has changed, that might not make sense. So figure out what that range looks like for you when you're creating this list. And now the third thing you can do here, and this is really a pro tip, by the way, is you can look at salespeople who are no longer at the company. Now, a lot of times you need to ask permission if you're a sales rep for this, but if you run the team, you definitely want to be recycling these leads. You look at past sales reps who used to work there, all of the deals that they were working that they weren't able to close, and you can reach out to them as well. Which brings me to the second step here, call them. We want to reach out to that entire list of people who said no to our product or service before in the past. So for me, what I did was I had that list and I called every single one of them, trying to find if there were any people in there who still had the problem that we solved and hadn't solved it with a competitor yet. Because that means they're still feeling the pain, but they have some awareness of what we do already, so things typically move quicker. Now, I stumbled upon a really important deal here. It was $60K, that's how long the contract was. And the decision maker that I was working with, or who I thought the decision maker was, totally ghosted me. I was working with a main point of contact there. She was navigating the internal team that they had on their side, who was really responsible for making the decision of which call center software they were supposed to use, and she just ghosted me completely out of nowhere. So I really spent a lot of effort trying to get in touch with her again, because closing that deal would be one of the largest deals in the company's history at the time. So I really wanted to make some movement there. So I'm calling everybody, I'm calling her on every number that I could find for her, really to move the needle. Now, when I was calling all of these people, I was using a really specific script. So let me give that to you now, because this script is responsible for a lot of the success that I've had calling lost opportunities, those folks who said no before in the past. Here's what the script sounds like, and I'm gonna explain why it works so well. So the script starts out like this. Hi, this is Kyle calling from Voris. I'm doing a bit of quality control here. Did I catch you at the worst time? So here's why this works. We are telling them that we are doing quality control, which gets rid of any concern that we are doing a sales call or this is going to take a long time for them. So we're squashing that concern, and we're also using negative phrasing, saying, did I catch you at the worst time? It's a bit more dramatic, and people generally say, no, it's not the worst time. So that's why I open it up with that. When they say, no, what's up? Now you move to the second part of the script here, which is great. Thanks for taking the time here. Just a quick question from my side. I'm doing some quality control, and I saw that you had booked a demo before in the past, and you chose not to move forward. I'm just curious here, Was there something we did that pushed you away, or what happened here? Now, this part of the script is the most powerful. What you're doing is you're saying, I'm doing quality control, so you're reinforcing that this isn't a sales call, and we are going in and taking responsibility for the deal not closing. You had seen a demo before in the past, or you met with somebody on our team before in the past, and you chose not to move forward. Was there something we did that pushed you away? Immediately, the prospect goes, no, you didn't do anything to push us away. There was a reason why we didn't move forward. You, as the salesperson following the script, do not give them a reason. You don't say, was there something we did to push you away, or was this a timing issue, or was this a budget issue? Don't give them a reason. You say, was there something we did that pushed you away, or what happened here? This forces the prospect to tell you the real reason. And they're incentivized to tell you the real reason because they don't want you thinking that you did anything wrong. This gives you the truth. That's the most important part. What was the reason why they didn't move forward? And whatever they tell you, then you take that and you work with it through the rest of the conversation to see if it's a better time for them to evaluate your solution. So they might say, oh, it was nothing you guys did. We just got really busy with other stuff. The next thing you're going to say is, okay, well, great. I'm glad to hear there's nothing we did that pushed you away. I'm curious, what motivated you to take a look at our solution in the first place? Now they're going to start telling you the problems that motivated them to evaluate your product or service. Those problems, if they're still present, are still problems that they're dealing with. And this gives you another opportunity to identify different pain points and the impact of the problem or multiple problems that they're experiencing. So that way you have a better understanding of what challenges they have, and you can propose your solution as a solution to those challenges. Which brings me to my third step here, which is book another call. You call them out of the blue doing a quality control call. You need to schedule another call to actually finalize the sale. This might be a final closing call, or if it's a more complicated sale, it might be a little bit more of a middle stage call that's going to progress the deal forward. In either situation, you want to make sure that you're getting that other call on the calendar. That's why you're doing those calls to that list in the first place. So for me, in this 60K deal that I was working, it was really challenging because I wasn't getting a hold of my main point of contact. She just didn't respond to any text message, any cold calls, any emails. I even messaged her on LinkedIn. So finally I said, you know what? This deal is probably lost. I'm just gonna call her boss. I needed something. Remember, there's all this pressure because no one's closing any deals, and we're completely handcuffed because we're not given any leads. We aren't allowed to add leads to the CRM. So everything we're doing is like on pieces of paper because we had to work around this system. We have no training. We're just trying to get a deal closed. That's all I want. So I called the boss. And when the boss picked up the phone, he says, oh yeah, I'm totally in the loop. She's on maternity leave. I've been meaning to reach out to you. What are the next steps for us here? He wanted to move forward, and I had no idea. Now, of course, a good salesperson would have known that that was a main decision maker, pulled him in much earlier in the sales process, but this was early in my sales career. I didn't have the skills. So I made a lot of mistakes, but one mistake I didn't make is I didn't stop following up. So critical to do that. So I reached out directly to the boss. I did the quality control script that I just walked you through, and then I scheduled a next step, another meeting for us to talk about what has to happen in order to implement our solution. A couple of tips when you're scheduling another call. The first one is you want to try to schedule it as soon as you can from that initial conversation. So if I talk to somebody on Monday, I want to schedule it for Tuesday or Wednesday. The reason why you want to do this is because they have the highest probability of showing up, and they have a lot more awareness of the conversation they're about to have. Generally, the further out they book the meeting, the more that pain point that you identified starts to fade. The second tip I'm going to give you is to try to get as many decision makers on the call as possible. So if you use the quality control script and the prospect tells you, oh, well, we weren't all on the same page over what kind of solution we wanted to implement, try to get as many people who weren't on the same page as possible so you can hear out everyone's perspective, which puts you as a salesperson in a much better position to be be able to present a solution that everyone's gonna be excited about. The third tip I'm gonna give you is for the call itself. You need to tailor that call based on the conversation that you just had with the quality control script. You do not want the prospect to feel like they're doing a full reset with you. We are continuing the conversation, not resetting it completely. You may have to redo a demo. You might have to re-go through your sales deck again. All of that might feel like a reset from your perspective, but because you've spoken to this prospect recently and resurfaced all of these things and brought this awareness back to them, you don't want them to feel like it's a complete reset. So make sure you tailor the conversation based on what you learned in that quality control script that you used. And the final tip I'll give you here is be prepared to accelerate the deal. Because there's a lot more trust and awareness to your product or service, generally lost opportunities move a lot quicker through the pipeline. So make sure you're ready to move quickly and don't just assume that this is going to be just as long as any other new deal. This is somebody who has a lot more awareness to your product or service. So treat them that way and get prepared to move a bit quicker with these ones. Which brings me to the fourth step here, which is close them. Close the deal. So for me, I had scheduled the follow-up call with my main point of contact's boss. I had a $60K deal on the line. We're having a conversation around the contract, the different terms, and we finalize everything on that call. I send the contract over and he signs it right there. It moved so quick from when I got him on the phone to the deal getting closed. And this was a huge win, one of the largest deals the company had ever closed. What was critical is that I followed up and treated the deal in a more accelerated way. I wasn't as worried about him going through every little step of our sales process. We picked it up where we left it off. He was in the loop because my point of contact did a really good job of keeping him in the loop, and we were able to sign a deal, which was a huge relief for me. Now, that leads me to two quick things that I want to address when you're doing this in real life. If you have a set sales process or demo or script that you're using when you do sales calls, of course, like I said earlier, you want to tailor it, but stick to that. If you're working with a different decision maker or somebody who saw a demo before in the past, sometimes they forget stuff, and don't just assume they remember big parts of your product or service from the last conversation. So even though I don't want you to do a full reset and still pick up the conversation from where you left off, it doesn't mean we totally abandon walking through all of the value that your solution really provides. So keep true to your main points that you're going through whenever you're going through a sales call. That might be parts of a demo if you sell a software product, or outlining the different elements of your offering, whatever it is. Stay true to that, but make sure that everything is tailored and that you're moving along the same path you were before. And the second thing I'm going to say here is forget that they said no in the past. Sometimes when I see sales reps using this approach, they tend to get a little cagey because they've already been rejected by this prospect before. That is totally in the past. Don't even think about it. It has no correlation to whether they're going to say yes or no this time around. So you want to treat them as if they're a new prospect, but it needs to be packaged in a way to where they feel like they're not resetting the entire thing and learning a bunch of stuff that they don't really need to know. So this was a 4-step process that you can follow to reactivate old deals. And if you want to learn how I closed $56,000 in 7 days, check out this video here and I'll see you there.